I would like to welcome everyone to today's Rockland Board of Sewer Commissioners working session meeting. Those things that matter, those reasonably anticipated the chair, which may be discussed at the meeting. All items, in fact, may be discussed. And other items not listed may be brought up for discussion to the extent permissible by law. This is a working session meeting only for the Board of Commissioners. There'll be no public comment except for those parties listed on the agenda. With that, I'll take a motion on today's meeting.
Make a motion to open.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, Mr. DeRoss?
Yes.
Ms. Valley?
Yes.
And Mr. Hession's a yes. Unanimous. Well, Robin is out today for a sick day, unfortunately. So for continuation of old business, I'd like to jump one item up and go to and get a very important matter out of the way, and that's a vendor selection for the 1-year I&I monitoring, which is going to require a vote. We had two responses. That was from DPC Engineering and Weston Sampson on the 16th of February. Both are very capable companies. This was a request for qualifications only. We get to pick them on those qualifications. Mr. Lapp was kind enough to design a review tool for us. And some of the criteria were understanding of the town's needs for the type of work proposed, experience with the town for projects similar to the scope of work or still ongoing in the past 10 years, project descriptions, a list of references from Massachusetts communities of similar size during the past 10 years, and qualifications of in-house staff and consultants who will perform the work, quality of references, quality of presentation, interview if applicable. With that, I guess I will start it off, and I use that form to go through them. And it's going to seem very highly, the scores seem high, and I did it with unbiased because I did check references. And the first one I'll go through is Weston Sampson. I scored them a 23 out of, I think, a possible 30 of 28. Understanding of the town's need. They've worked with us several times in the past. They know exactly what we were looking for to do with the I&I issue. Number two, with experience with the town. They've done several projects with the towns over the year. And the references checked out. I did call them because I didn't want to be biased on it, because I did call the other firms, and qualifications of the staff are impeccable. So with that, I gave them a score of 23. DPC Engineering, they also met the criteria of knowing what we're looking for, and I scored them a 3 only for experience with the town, because they've never done work with the town that I could find for the past 10 years. Their descriptions of the work done similar in Massachusetts met that qualification. I think their staff is very well qualified, and their references express that. I did like their presentation. They've got solid qualifications and references, and my comments were, my concern, although very small, is that they have not done engineering work in town previously. I feel they should get invitations to bid on future sewer water work, but given the sensitivity of this project and the EPA's involvement, I'd rather this not be the time to find out their true capabilities. So that's where I came out. My selection would be to go with Weston Sampson, only for a severe comfort level with them.
So I agree, it is Weston Sampson that seems to have the experience with the town. DPC did not. I also, and I'm not sure the answer, but DPC is located out in almost western Massachusetts. Is that, and how that might be relevant to our project, whereas Weston Sampson is more local.
Yeah.
Now, what's the price difference?
We don't, well, all they're doing is they're gonna be comparing, putting a bid together. No one's given us a price. This is just qualifications for someone to submit a bid. I would say being based on qualifications, we get to select the vendor. If their bid is outrageous, of course, we can send it back. And we can, and there's always room for negotiation, but
What are we gonna pay on the labor?
labor and the engineering, they'll be installing 15 flow meters and monitoring for over a year in the town. And again, the other thing too is where they will be doing the I&I work. Well, excuse me, Green Mountain will be doing the I&I work. And we also have a contract with Weston Sampson to follow them along to make sure they are compliant with what they bid on. The beauty of it is, to me, is that should make their price for this work we're bidding on cheaper, because they'll be following along and they could do it simultaneously rather than have a third company tailing along.
I agree with you.
Okay, so I'm gonna make a motion that we approve the request for qualifications and ask for a bid for the 1 year I&I work from Weston Sampson.
Are we supplying the equipment
No, they will supply everything, equipment and labor.
and we keep the equipment at the end?
No.
They get it back
No,
again?
Oh, I'm not sure about the metering, that we'll
Yeah.
find out on the,
I thought the meters were ours.
I'm not sure, I'll have to clarify that.
Yeah.
But I have a motion to approve Weston Sampson to propose to bid on the 1 year monitoring.
I make the motion.
All right, do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, Mr. DeRoss?
Yes.
Ms. Valley?
Yes.
Mr. Hession's a yes. Weston Sampson will get the bid. I'll notify Weston Sampson and Mr. Lapp today. What I'm looking to do is, while we're on that I&I work, if you have your forms, I'll take those so I can keep them in the record. What I will be doing is, I can't get it from you later. What I will be doing is scheduling a kickoff meeting with Green Mountain, Weston Sampson on the I&I work, probably next week or the week after. Due to the location of Green Mountain Piping in Vermont, I'm gonna have this first meeting on open public meeting. With that, we'll be signing the contract and discussing a timeline for that to get going. One thing that I wanna mention to everybody is that this work is not really susceptible to the winter months. A lot of the work can be done during this time, so we should be able to get going pretty quick. That's manhole sealing, and the coating of the pipeline may stretch into May, June. But I'm looking at this, all the I&I work should be completed by the end of August, 1st of September. And that'll free up some capacity for us to bring in, hopefully, some additional revenue. Again, that capacity is solely based on current flow, which as of today is 2.8 million gallons a day. And that's been averaging right through February, that 2.8. So even if we wanted to, we couldn't bring in anyone right now anyway. As far as other items, we have Veolia is preparing a bid spec on the generator, which we should have that. Today is Tuesday, we should have that by Friday. That is covered by opera funds.
How big of a generator?
It's gonna be a fixed generator. The spec went out suitable to what we have now, but we're gonna mount it on a steel skid, so it would be quote unquote portable. Other than that, Weston Sampson will have the rate study, I think today, not finalized, in draft form. And I would like to schedule a meeting for March 9th at 7 o'clock for Weston Sampson to present that to the town. That'll be the only thing on the agenda. They will be presenting that to the Board of Sewer Commissioners for our questions. We will take the first talk, we'll have our questions answered first, and then I will turn it over for public comment. And I'm encouraging everyone to comment, because we did go up 25% on the user rates effective this past January, and I am predicting another rate increase in the 12 to 15% in July. And this is going to, what we're hoping to do is lock in a rate for at least 5 years, so you'll know what'll be coming at you. But now is the time to ask your questions on why the significant increase. Do we have to do it? It's not something we want to do or we chose to do. The situation demanded it. I mean, the sewer department was flat out broke for the first time. We're operating out of the red. But in order to comply with the EPA order, in order to bring in future revenue as far, and that's all solely dependent, get rid of I&I, these costs are warranted, and we want to make sure that you understand why. So I will be putting out a notice on Facebook and on the town website, and that's all we can do. I'd ask you to attend and get your questions answered there from people who did the numbers, and they're telling us why we have to go up, so that'll be the perfect time. Boiler is running the way it should. We have a bid spec due next week to go out for the piping, which would be the next step. That piping will also be covered partially by ARPA,
Yes,
$200,000 worth of it
whatever's left over in ARPA after the
will be covered by
boiler's
ARPA.
paid for.
One thing I want to get back into that rate study is we are shooting to have a surplus to cover all these needs. We don't have to keep coming back to you for rate increases in the future. Let me see what else we have. Really, I don't want to get into too much more than we went into at our monthly meeting last week. So with that, I think the next on the agenda, if you want to, are you ready to discuss it, or you want to wait till Robin's here for the assistant?
Yes, let's wait for Robin. Yeah.
We'll wait till that next week.
Yeah.
And the same with the web design?
Yes. Let's do it.
We did that, so now we're gonna get into a nice juicy discussion on fees. What we're looking at are new connection fees, not user fees. And I'd like this to be a real good in-depth discussion today since we have the time. The sewer department had set development fees back in 2004. So everyone think, what has gone up since 2004? Just everything you can name of, except the Rockland Sewer Department development fees and user fees. Hence the reason we're in the bind that we are. Dad and I pushed through a increase in 20 and again in 21 to get us in the ballpark, and I think that was for the development fees. When I say development, I'm talking what it costs to hook up. But that is not covering the I&I, the cost to remove the I&I. Now, what I want everyone to realize, that sure we'll be gonna be looking at a proposal for $80 million for the facility. That is not gonna give you additional capacity. The only way we're gonna get capacity is through I&I removal. The facility is set at 2.5 million gallons a day. We are not gonna get any more out of this facility, but we gotta reduce the inflow and infiltration, which again, cracked pipes, illegal sump pumps, and runoff. And we gotta come up with a fee to cover that. I had given the board members something to ponder, and Ms. Valley came up with also one. Now, what I'd like to do is assess an engineering fee on them. When I say an engineering fee, when I looked at an engineering fee, I looked at what we have paid to date to remove I&I. And when I say what we have paid, I'm looking at the contract for the SSES, Sewer Study Evaluation, which identified places that I&I could be found. I'm looking at the $30,000, that was for $300,000. I'm looking at the $30,000 we spent to prepare the bid for that scope of work. I'm looking at the Green Mountain piping contract to repair that work, which is $261,000. I'm looking at the oversight for that, which is another $50,000. And I'm looking at the 1 year monitoring. I'm tacking that in as well, and I'm estimating that to be in the vicinity of $150,000. When I looked at all those numbers, I came up with a total of, I corrected, I have a bogus number in there. I think I corrected it for you guys later on. Well, I came up with a number of $639,260, and that is to remove 119,350 gallons. Now, the SSEI study identified 219,000 gallons of I&I that could possibly be removed. That is based on the flows at that time. The I&I flows will vary. If anything, this is the perfect time to go after it because the flows are high. But the engineering estimates for actual removal was 119,350 gallons. So if I took that 639,000 gallons, actually I think it was $789,000.
Here's your 639.
Yeah, but I think when I added the 150 to it,
Okay.
it came out to like 789,000. When I divided that by the 119,000 gallons, I came up with a price that it costs us actually $6.61 per gallon to remove. That's per cubic foot.
I saw that today. I was reading that.
So, based on that, I came up with an engineering fee to say when we say to I&I, we take the actual flow. And what I'm going to use for an example is to say a single family 3-bedroom home would have a flow of 330 gallons. It's 110 per bedroom per the Title V requirements. So that'd be 330 gallons. Well, we have to measure that times 11 for the I&I removal, and that's per the EPA. So that would give us $3,630 gallons would have to be removed for a typical 3-bedroom house. Now the engineering fees, if you use my numbers, would give us an additional $24,000, which would more than cover that. Now, it's very steep for the single-family homeowner that's building, but unfortunately it is what it is. We can't give it away because we have to remove it. And in the past, they just weren't making it to do so. I do have other ideas to reduce that, but I think for the time being, we should focus on this. And honestly, in my opinion, for example, I'm going to give you a development that I use for an example. They were coming in with 19 units, and in the fee structure, they would owe us $300,000. With the 661, they would owe us approximately $827,000. So that would give us $527,000 to remove that I&I. That's the delta if we did do nothing. Now granted, that sounds like a high amount, but for a large development, that's not. When you think apples for apples. I hate doing it to the single family, and maybe we could come up with 2 rate structures, one for 4 units. I'm just throwing this out now on the top of my head. Use the 661 for large development, and maybe for the single family or up to 3 families or less, or 4 families or less, I can in moratorium come up with another fee, maybe half of that. But where we're getting killed is in the larger developments. So what I would like to do is I'd like those fees applicable as soon as possible, because we do have people pending, coming in asking for new connections. If we do not settle on a fee structure, to me, anybody that appears before us to request a connection, they're gonna get the old fees.
Right.
But we're losing money the longer we delay on an extension. So with that, I'm open to debate and
So you're proposing to add an engineering fee.
engineering and removal fee, I'm calling it.
Okay. Are we going to increase the $20 per?
I would leave, my suggestion is for now, because that is gonna be quite the hit, we're gonna be recovering. I would leave the development and the tie-in fees and the $20 a gallon the same leave it as for a year anyway, and revisit it, and to see what we're bringing in with this. Because if we go with the $20 a gallon, go to 25 or $30 a gallon, that's gonna make that I&I engineering fee a lot higher. I mean, we're gonna be, it's gonna cost, we have to raise it, but we don't wanna do so that we scare developers away. Are you gonna scare the single-family homeowner away? No. But the majority of the things coming into Rockland, let's face it, are gonna be 40Bs and larger units. And that's where we're gonna make
Right.
our connection.
So, the $20 per gallon doesn't cover the cost to remove the INI.
I don't want
Does
that
not
to cover
cover-
the I&I. Forget the
Well-
I&I with that.
But that's exactly what that's intended for, and
No, that was what it's cost us to process. What they were using that for the I&I. But that's why I'm creating a separate fee. The engineering fee that I'm proposing will cover the I&I and the engineering to remove that. Like say, for example, that, what I gave you with that 19, we're gonna have to have a bid prepared to go out and find that. That'll cover it, and that $500,000 will cover the removal. That engineering fee will cover the I&I. The $20 we could look as gravy to help fund we could figure out where we wanna put that. I'm saying the engineering and the engineering and removal fees could be the I&I. If you wanna use that $20 for I&I as well, great. We could put it all in
okay,
that
so
I&I.
just walk me through it again, the $6.61.
The $6.61, I'm saying use for sewer remediation and removal. That covers because I'm using the actual
That's
numbers
per flow gallon.
per the 11:1 ratio.
But you're gonna charge $6.61 for each gallon, Right.
With the 11:1 applied. That's the I&I removal.
so,
So what I'm saying is, if you look at our numbers of what we've spent to remove that 119,000 gallons, okay? The bid scopes, the actual work, what have you, that comes out to $6.61. Want me to run the numbers for you so you can check them?
yes.
Okay.
I
Okay.
need to,
Here's what I want you to add up.
okay.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, we have a mathematician. Okay, to remove what we're gonna spend to remove that 119,000, remember the 119,350 gallons?
Yes,
Write that number down, because that's our constant.
okay,
That's what we will be removing. To remove that 119, we will have spent $330,000 with ACOM,
yep,
and that's to find the I&I.
yep,
We spent $30,000 with Weston Sampson to prepare the bid package
yep,
for the I&I removal. The I&I removal bid was $260,260, to call it $261,000 to remove the I&I.
yep,
We tacked on additional $49,000 to monitor that removal to make sure it was done correctly. And we're now approved the scope of $150,000 for year one monitoring of the I&I.
yep.
So why don't you add up all those numbers and see what you come up with. I think it's like $789,000, I'm not sure.
For the $11,
Forget the $11, forget the 11 gallons right now. I think I came up with 789,000.
I got 820. I think it's the extra 150 that's throwing it off. I got 820. So without the 150,
Hmm?
670.
You go for 670?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And I rounded off.
Yeah,
All right. Divide that by 119,350. 663?
561.
Is that five, is it 561 or 661?
561.
Okay, so I stand corrected.
Double check it.
Double check that, please.
670,000 divided by 119,350.
I'm gonna double check you.
Yeah, please do. 560.
I don't have these fancy phones.
Okay.
No, you don't. Okay, 30,000
Per gallon cost to remove.
plus. Plus. Okay, that was 639, 260. Now I'm gonna add the 150. I come up with 789, 260. Double check me again. I'm bear with us. You know, you're bored at home. We're just doing this because we want to. 30,000 plus 300,000. No, excuse me. Just got it here, Charlie. 30,000. Please follow at home if you like. 30,000 plus 300,000.
300 or 330?
30,000 plus 300,000
Okay.
plus 260,000.
Yeah.
$260 plus, yeah, plus 49,000
Yeah.
plus
I love my pencils.
150,000
Mm-hmm.
equals 789, 260. Now I divide that by 119,350 gallons of removal. $789, 260 divided by 119,350 equals $6.61.
Confirmed.
So that's what it actually costs us to remove the I&I we're going after. And I'm saying that's
Per
what we
gallon.
per
Yep.
gallon. And I'm saying that's what we should charge people. That's what we're paying. Now, on top of that,
But
that $20 per gallon goes into our kitty for ancillary funds if we
So-
want to use it.
are we charging? All right, let me just babble for a minute. So we take the expected flow from the building,
Right.
and then we multiply it by 11 because that's what we're required to remove. Are we charging the owner of that building $6.61 for the flow, or times 11?
Times 11. Because
Okay.
that times 11
Okay.
is the I&I that we have
All
promised the EPA we're going to be chasing.
Because the whole previous calculations were charging them based on the expected flow that they were going to add, not
the I&I. And that's where they
That's
were
where the
running.
problem is.
That's where they were killing themselves.
That's where the problem is, because we never collected enough to pay for
Right.
the 11 times
Right.
what we're doing.
Now, what we could do for the homeowner, and again, for the single family, we could drop that $20 and just charge a basic. Or we could do it for everyone, just drop the $20 a gallon flow and go with the 661. But would be losing, for example, if we use that example of 19 units, would be losing $145,000. I'm saying we use that 145 for general repair and upkeep of the sewer department.
Okay, that's sounding much better.
But see, we're doing such a big job, that's why the $6 is so cheap.
Right, if you're doing a small one, right.
You're
But
doing a
it's-
small job that's gonna cost us more than $6.
Right, we're losing money on the small, but what I'm saying is now, we're doing this, we're charging everybody exactly what the sewer department has to pay to remove that I&I. So I'm taking away, really, the excuse of the sewer department, by not saying they don't have enough money. Because to connect, you're gonna pay this money up front, so we have the money.
Right.
And what I'm saying is, the sewer remediation fee, we could call that a sewer maintenance fee. And use that $20 a gallon, whatever it is, to go into a maintenance fund.
I like that much better.
And that maintenance fund could be for pump stations, because we have nothing to generate revenue for pump stations. We could put that into a general maintenance and name that remediation fund sewer maintenance fee.
Yeah.
And the
I
660.
like that, because that's my objective, is to get the cost to remove the I&I, to get that cost covered, and then to have some funds for the repairs that we know are happening around here.
Right, but this was the dilemma that I faced before, and I'll be selfish
Yeah.
me, that I had a hard time convincing the previous board of that we're losing money, but now, and I could show it, but I'm not trying to gouge anybody, but to remove I&I is an actual physical cost. There is a cost to that. But there's also a cost for upkeep.
Yes.
Yes.
And that upkeep, the user fees are not covering that as well, because this is an old facility. So what I'm saying is, we take that remediation fee, and like for example, this one example I said of 19 units, that 145,000, then we completely replace an obsolete pump station. So we're keeping up with things. Am I making sense, or am I?
Yeah, no, it's
I
working.
mean, instead of charging $6, why don't you just round up to 10?
No. Now, you round that up to 10, you're talking a ton of money. For the 19, for development 19 units, you're talking $530,000. For a residential homeowner, you're talking for a 3-bedroom home, you're talking $39,000.
Yeah, but with the 6 or so, what are you talking? $6.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what, if you round that up to 10, you're blowing them out of the water. You want to make money. You don't really want to. The goal of any business is to make money. This is a business. Ellie Goldblatt was a manufacturing engineer who wrote a book called The Goal, and the only end goal in any business is not to be successful. The goal is to make money. Period.
Yeah.
End of story. We're here to make money to keep up so we can provide the service to the residents, which they have not been getting. Now, we are going to be facing, I mean, if both of you have read that Right PS report. Now, we've got a nice 10-year plan laid out for that rate study, but I'm gonna tell you right now, there's gonna be a catastrophic failure in between now and then. This equipment is not gonna keep pace, and we don't know what it is. And even in this rate study, it's not calculated in because we don't know what it is. This, I'm saying, if we take that $20 and continue to a sewer maintenance fee, we'll be able to keep pace with that. Any obstacles that come our way, without passing it on to the residents. And the key to that is gonna be bigger developments. I'm not saying throw the gate open to them, because I'm sure once we get the capacity, we're gonna have to pick and choose. If we let one in, I mean, that's probably gonna be it for the year.
It might be closing it down for a couple of years.
Yeah, so we don't know. So we gotta make the money while we can.
They'll be open up for small homes.
Well, we'll all be able to accommodate the single-family user and up to 3 units. It's gonna be the bigger ones. Well, we got some big ones on the horizon. We got Union Street, you got Park and Howard Street, you've got Holy Family, you've got Concord Street, and you got the infamous Shingle Mill. Well, those are all big hitters, and quite honestly, we do not have the capacity for all of them. And we are not gonna have the capacity for all of them. And everyone's gonna realize that sooner or later it's gonna break. We're gonna have to say no more.
So what I'm working on is to figure out what a 3-bedroom home would cost.
Oh, I already cost you, I already did, I gave it to
Oh.
you. Yeah. There's your 3-bedroom home.
Okay, that's what I'm coming up with.
And what I'm saying is,
So-
for people at home, so you know, the fees for a 3-bedroom home, to come onto the Rockland system, this is a single-family 3-bedroom home, we charge $8,000 per unit. And that is the sewer development fee. So that would be $8,000 just to come on board, a one-time only fee. To apply for the permit, we charge $150 per unit. So that'd be $8,000 plus $150. Now, per Title V, Title V's Massachusetts charges 110 gallons per bedroom, per person per bedroom. So that's 110 gallons times 3, which would be 330 gallons. At $20 a gallon, that would generate $6,600, which would go into our maintenance fee.
Yep.
Now, with that 330 gallons, we have to multiply that by 11 to satisfy the EPA. That brings that to 3,630 gallons of I&I that Rockland is obligated to remove. Now, that would cost Rockland $23,994 to remove that. So we're charging the person coming on to remove it, so we're not paying it for them, and we're not paying it off to the existing users.
Mm-hmm.
So that entire package of all those fees I just said, it'd be $8,000, for development, $150 for tie-in, $6,600 for the remediation. That $6,600 comes from the original 330 gallons, 110 per bedroom, 3-bedroom, which comes to 330 gallons times $20 a gallon, that's $6,600. I'm saying we change that to a sewer maintenance fee.
Mm-hmm.
On top of that, now we have the engineering and removal fee for the I&I. So we take the 330 gallons, we multiply that by 11, that comes to 3,630 gallons. It costs us $6.61 actual to remove that, which means it costs the department $23,994 to remove it.
Mm-hmm.
We're asking people to pay for that, because you remove it, you can come on.
Yep.
And that's what I'm proposing.
And the total comes to?
$38,000 for a single family. It would be $38,744.30. That's real numbers.
And that's real numbers.
And people will say that's awfully high. Well, that's what we're paying, and that's what we have been paying all these years, which is why the sewer department was in the red.
Mm-hmm.
That we're not charging enough. And now, unfortunately, what you have to realize, residents, is today we're at the point we're trying to make up for 17 years of this. And we can't say, okay, we'll gradually go up over 17 years because we'll never get out of the red.
No, we have to cover what it costs.
And so, I also went around to all the other towns around here. I looked online, and a lot of them, if you do out all their numbers, they're pretty well compatible to what we're going to be spending.
Okay. That would be the next step I would want to see is.
I did go around. I went through, you name it, I went through all of them around there.
Okay.
How's the NWRA?
MWR, that's a totally different animal. We couldn't have, I don't even want to look at that because we'll never be able to connect to that in our lifetime.
Oh, no.
So, MWRA, so the residents know, just to apply for that is like $10 million. To do the engineering work that would require us to connect would probably take another 10 years. By then I'm off the board and it's your worry. But I think the only way we are going to break even now or to come out in a fair pace is to that. But I'm not done with fees on that. What I would like to do is I'd like to make a motion that we now create an engineering and I&I removal fee of $6.61 a gallon based on the 11:1 ratio to charge all new connections.
Can we put the vote off to next week?
Sure.
I think I'd just like to do some more research on surrounding towns and what this is going to look like for the various. And maybe you've already done it, and I
I've already
apologize.
done it, but no, I have no problem with doing it. This is the numbers you were coming up with, the
Okay.
$2.27 a gallon,
Yeah.
but I think that is more than fair. Because that's
I like this idea of just putting the cost
And again, what I want
weeks.
you to do is circle that, so that $20 a fee to go into a sewer
Call that a
maintenance,
maintenance fee.
sewer upkeep and maintenance, because
All
the
right.
user rates are paying that, and unless we go up on the user rates astronomical, I'm saying another 60%, we're not gonna cover an older aging facility.
Well,
That
this is like
$20 has gotta go to this.
savings account.
Yeah,
Yep. I think this is a good plan.
okay, that's what I'd like to present. Now,
And I'm okay if you are with a vote next week.
so I know, look, this is
I
not.
like to mull things over and
Yeah, no,
try
no,
and,
please, this
you
is
know,
a
come up
dictatorship.
with
Now, the other thing I
due
want,
diligence.
okay, so what we're gonna do is I wanna put the fees to bed next week so we can move on to other items.
Agreed.
So I'm gonna ask you guys to do your homework and look it over. If you've got any questions, then now, this has been discussed in open meetings, please send your questions to me. I will not respond to them, but I'll have them and I'll try to have answers for next week. Is that put to bed?
Works for
Now,
me.
there's another fee I would like to discuss.
My bonus?
Yeah.
Huh?
My bonus.
No. What
I
I
don't
would
get
like to
bonus.
discuss is the fact that the sewer department is an independent entity. That means we do not get tax dollars. We do not charge the town for sewer use, although we have to pay for it, i.e. the residents have got to pay for it. Now, the EPA hit us with an administrative order because of lack of capacity. And I'm not gonna rehash all items, but the responsibility of that order goes way back to 2007. In 2007, the town voters allocated the town meeting $100,000 to do a facility study and the comprehensive wastewater management plan. We could have got them done both for $100,000 at that time. They took that $100,000 and spent it on a study that they did not need to do. That was confirmed to me by a previous superintendent who claimed that they had Board of Selectmen, there was a letter that said the Board of Selectmen approved it. How it happened, I don't know. But the town management, the town officials, and I'm gonna use town hall, I don't mean that negatively, I'm just using it to shorten things. They had an obligation to the residents of Rockland to follow up on that administrative order they were issued in 2006. As was explained to me by town council, who took exception to me corresponding with the EPA, which to me he had no right to do now because it's a sewer issue. He told me that the town has equal responsibility, they have a right to that because the the order was issued to the town and to the sewer department. Now, this Board of Selectmen and the town administrator are doing their job by keeping that in the forefront. However, it comes down to the sewer department is still paying for it. Now, right now, municipal buildings and municipal facilities such as town hall, the schools, the fire department, police department, do not pay a treatment fee. We have to still pay for that. Now, I just want to use a snapshot of the schools. And schools, I'm saying the kindergarten, the elementary, and the high school. I went back, looked at actual numbers. Now, if we were gonna charge them, we charge by the cubic feet of use. They used approximately, just the schools, 5,791,000 gallons of wastewater. That comes to 57,910 cubic feet that they would have been billed at. At the current rate, that meant just the schools would have owed the sewer department, we have spent $430,000 to treat their wastewater, which we don't have. Now, what I am proposing is, I would like to make an offer to the town hall to commit at a minimum. Right now, if we build them, it'll be a lot more because you're tacking on the municipal hall, town hall, you tack on the fire department, police department, library, park, highway, sprinkler use, you name it. It'll be over $1 million a year. What I'm asking them to do, at the 220,000, at today's rate, and our rates are gonna be going up minimum, let's say 12 to 15%, a year. I would like to lock them in and have them put into sewer I&I fund a minimum of $400,000 a year for I&I. That would take, and to do that, they would have to come up with a way not to hit the ratepayers, which means a tax. Now, they have they have, we'll call unused funds. They could use something like that. I'm sure they can come up with a way. And I think $400,000, we lock them in, then we don't continue to charge them 12.5% a year, because they pass that on to the ratepayers in the tax rate, and the ratepayers are already paying for that in their user fees. So I'm saying we put the onus on them. They have ownership in this as well as the sewer department. They had an obligation to follow through and they did not. So we cannot foot the bill for everything. So I'm asking them to commit to $400,000 a year to the sewer fund for a minimum of 10 to 15 years till we get at that $400,000 a year. Or we have the right, and I've checked with the attorneys, to assess user fees to municipal users.
Okay.
Now, if this is not amenable, then what we could do is say, okay, then you're gonna pay for a connection to any municipal building is gonna pay for a connection. For example, the new fire station, I don't care if it's the existing stuff, you're a new connection. Everything will be treated as a new connection. And they'll pay the applicable fees. What I want you to do is mull that over. I will send out this to you, and this is what I came out with for fees. And I'm sure when they get wind of this, they're not gonna like it. But I checked with our town council and we have the right to do it.
Okay, that would be my only concern, where that.
I also checked with another council, we have the right to do it.
Okay.
That lap thing.
I haven't talked to Ms. Lott. What I would like to do is send them a letter saying this, that we are considering assessing municipal fees to help with the I&I. They have the obligation to help us out. They are using it as well. We can't afford to pay for them any longer. We're broke. They've admitted we're broke. There should have been a municipal fee, a set municipal fee set on this all along.
The highest one so far is just.
I just took the schools.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now the schools are $500,000 a year. I'm going up. Just say, you're tacking everything, it's gonna be more than $1 million a year in user rates. Now, I am reaching to get the sewer department out of this. If they wanna do this, and they say, well, water's in the same boat you have, well, I don't care about water, I care about the sewer right now. If they wanna sit down and come to an understanding with water and sewer, that they will contribute jointly and equally to each department to help subsidize,
That's, yeah.
I would be willing to do that, but I think it's more than fair to say to them, if they should commit to $400,000 a year to Rockland till we get out of this administrative order. I am gonna get them out of this administrative order with the upkeep and the I&I funds, but they have to pay their fair share, they have to help us out.
Help us out.
I could hear them scampering out one.
So that evil bugger.
Certainly worth a discussion, yes, it's.
I'm throwing that up for discussion, I think,
No,
I want you to think about it, it's
it's,
fair. But you know what, they can't pass this, and they're gonna turn around and say, well, we can't do it because we'll pass it on to the ratepayers.
Yeah.
What I'm gonna say then, you have got the problem with the ratepayers that you have no excess cash.
Yeah, don't pass it.
We didn't plan on getting hit with the order. Well, I was planning on it because I knew we were gonna get hit with it.
But
I knew from the time we got on board we were gonna get hit with it. Now, that's also taken into consideration, we're going to be fined. That fine is not gonna come out of the sewer department.
Right, we don't have. So, yeah, they're gonna.
I don't think that fine will be anywhere near that. I think a worst case scenario fine may be $100,000, but I'm assuming in the $50,000 range. And people, please don't say this is a reason not to vote for me in the upcoming re-election.
Who's running against
Oh,
you?
my wife would love that, but
Who's running against you?
me, myself, and I, it's a loaded field. Again, you know, this is why I wish people would come to these meetings. I mean, don't dump it all on us.
Yeah. you know, on the flip side, you know, they're putting their trust in us to do the right thing. And I think that now we're starting to do that. Do we know if other towns charge their
I don't know.
municipalities?
I don't care.
Okay.
Really, I'm reaching to pay for what we did. They helped create the sins of the past.
Mhm.
And granted, it's not this board, and it's like us. We inherited this. They've inherited it, but we're in this together. They told us if that's the case, then you know what? Let us handle it. You have no input. But I want you to consider that.
All right.
But it has to be done without impacting increasing the tax rate. This has to come out of a free cash. And they can't say, well, we don't have any free cash at the end. If you're not operating on a surplus, there's something really wrong.
Well, that's also something that we have no control over.
Right.
They could.
But they don't have to do
They
it,
could.
but if not, we're gonna pass it off.
It's $500,000 a year.
Just in the schools. It's not talking high, and granted, their wastewater bill is not that high.
Yeah.
But when you're talking to schools, that's a massive hit. And that's when they allocate in that, so you know what the school breakdown is. I think I put it on the back. I did. The breakdown for schools, you look at the kindergarten is 5 gallons, for Title V minutes, 5 gallons per student a day. The elementary is 10 gallons per day. And the high school is 20 gallons a day. And it goes up because showers, cafeterias, what have you. But that $429,000 is exactly what it costs the sewer department to treat that. We have to treat that.
Right.
And they can say, well, you're getting that from the user fees. No, I'm getting the user fees for your individual household.
Right. We're not charging for that.
We're not
That's,
charging.
coming out of the schools.
So that's probably another reason to put another needle in the old chuck doll. But again, our job is to dig this out.
That's right.
I can hear the school committee now.
Yeah, this is.
Well, it's not gonna be the school
It's
committee.
not
I
gonna
wanna
be
work this out. I
popular,
wanna
but-
sit down, I wanna negotiate with them, and I wanna talk to them about this, say, hey, we're in this together. I mean, I'm really sorry. I didn't create it, you didn't create it, meaning them, they didn't. Their predecessors should have been asking every single meeting, what's the status of the administrative order? That order, original order, was given in 2006. And that's why we are going to be fined, because they ignored that order. They allowed it to happen.
That goes.
Well, I figured that would give you, that would
That's
send a line
certainly,
through.
yeah.
Well, I did, well, I had to drop my turd today anyhow, so there it is. But there shouldn't be all on the burden of the homeowner. We're paying one hell of a tax rate in this town. Well, don't tell me there's no surplus.
Yeah.
And again, if they want to have if they don't want to do it and they want to fight it, well, they want to have all these public buildings, these new things, they're going to pay for connection. One way or the other.
Yeah.
And when I'm saying pay for connection, I'm talking every single, if they do an upgrade, there's going to be I'm going to treat it as though
Same
they're
rules.
connected.
Same rules. Yeah.
I'm going to treat it as connected.
When they put the sewer line into your house, are they supposed to clean out?
Yes. Cleanouts are mandatory.
They didn't do it.
I know that. We can't go over sins of the past, but
I
yeah.
made them put one of mine.
Well, that's not what we're talking about now.
Hmm.
So, you got a lot to think about. The one thing I am gonna ask for a vote on next week is on the development and user fees.
Yes.
Again, to recap, I'd like to keep the development fee, the tie-in fee, and the maintenance fee at $20 a gallon
Mm-hmm.
alone for the year,
Yep.
for 1 year.
No change. Just add.
I want to add an engineering development, I want to add engineering and I&I removal fee.
Yep.
And what I would like to do is get that passed retro and say it is effective April 1st.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone who has applied prior to April 1st they get the old rates. Anyone after that, the new rates.
Now, that's gonna open up a discussion about persons who have applied and have done nothing for years.
What's funny you brought that
He
up.
can do
Right in.
I don't know if you're still being filmed live at
We
5.
are,
it.
we are.
Are you leaving?
No, I just had a couple, I had a meeting this afternoon.
Ladies and gentlemen, Rick.
Hi.
No, I had a meeting
Sure.
with John Elliott, and just got off another one, Matt, so just talking about,
Well, we're gonna probably general clue you in later.
yeah.
Where was I?
So we
Oh,
were
you're
talking about people who
people that have
have
been
applied.
applied. Okay, I found a thing in the ordinance, the existing ordinance, that permits are good for a maximum of 2 years
In the existing
in
ordinance.
the existing ordinance. I prepared a letter to go to one developer who was approved previously, that he's gotta come before us for a hearing to reapply for a new permit per the ordinance, and he will be subject to all fees and things that are applicable at the time. So I'm clearing the board of that. Everyone that's been approved, with the exception of the waiting list, because they're current,
Yeah,
everyone prior to the waiting list is gonna get that letter.
anything approved more than 2 years ago.
It's right in the ordinance,
Yeah, that
They
has,
haven't followed.
even without a date, 2 years maximum. Now, please, residents, pay attention to that, because that little phrase is gonna be very important. 2 years. With that, Mr., how are you, sir?
Very good, thank you. Very good.
How's that flowing today?
It's there.
You gonna talk about the generator of that?
Yeah, I was just talking to Matt.
Go ahead.
No, but Matt, I know they're working on that, he just wanted some specs. So like I said, so we're working on that, and I had a meeting at 1 o'clock with John regarding the digester
Piping?
piping. Yeah,
Talk to
so
us about that.
he's just, he's working with Hallam. He's got another meeting with Hallam,
Where's Weston Sampson in that mix?
I don't,
They should be brought into it.
which one now? With
For the piping, because they're gonna be preparing the bid spec.
Okay. I know John's doing something with the bid spec.
John,
Okay.
okay.
He was asking me questions regarding, it was actually to be about, he was asking, what I need from the contractor when it goes out to bid, things that I'm concerned about.
Okay.
So that's what we went over, we hashed over things this afternoon. And then Matt, we hashed over the other, with the generator and the contract, the amendment or something like that. And that was it,
Very glad you get a portable generator.
Well,
yeah.
I want to hear portable fixed, whatever.
No,
That's
we're
all
good, we're good. Yeah.
I mean, we have been working it.
So you're good if you wanted to bail out, I mean, for this meeting. You
Yeah.
can hang here if you
No,
want.
I'm good. No, I just wanted to,
How you doing, Stephanie? Anything we can do to help you out, or markups are diminishing?
very much, yeah. Since we went to the maintenance,
Yeah.
so they've dropped considerably.
Good.
Still a little issue, I know Gino's working on it. For some reason, I'm still not getting them. Don't know why. He has no idea why, but.
Markups?
Yeah, so they're going to Robin, and Robin's forwarding to me. For some reason, they should come to the VO.
No, you know what, the reason that's coming, I found out, that is on DigSafe's bid. I'll call up and get that changed.
Yeah, they can't get, for whatever reason,
That's being generated by DigSafe.
yes, my email is not going through. I checked, I had my company, the company check my spam, they're not going there, they're just not
It's not
going
you,
to me.
it's not you, it's DigSafe. They're generated by
Yeah, because
DigSafe.
it just makes added work for Robin.
I'll take
If
care
it come to
of it.
me, I can deal with it more directly.
yeah.
All right,
Okay.
continue the meeting.
Okay. But, where were we?
Permits. Anything permitted more
Right,
than 2
so-
years ago,
so-
put a date on that.
So,
How many
where
more
was
permits
I
are-
here? No, because I want to point something out.
I'd say there's a lot of them over 2 years.
A lot of them, but you can't, you have to notify them, you have to bring them in for a hearing, which I understand, which we're going to do. But that's, what I'm trying to do is clean everything up.
Yes.
And I had
Yes.
something here, I may not look at it, because I used a current example. I don't want to go into any names in the open meeting,
Oh, mm-hmm.
okay? Don't say any
Yeah, I can
damn.
think of another one too.
Yeah.
There's a couple
Yeah.
projects out there.
Yeah, but they haven't been before us. And where they've expired, you know, a lot of things expire. The fees have changed, the moratorium has changed. And the older
Yeah.
ones that have permits, I'll waive the moratorium because they're pre that, but that's gonna be subject to the fees that are applicable at the time. And a lot of them, remember, we went up in the fees in 2021 and they had that fees prior to that. Well, everything has gone up. So I'm addressing that.
You're right.
I mean, there's a lot of heavy stuff we talked about today.
Yeah. But it's important and it needs to be.
But the
solved
reason
now,
I've delayed it and
because-
delayed it, we had some other stuff to get rid of, like the EPA, the budget and capital, and I think now was the time. But I think it's imperative we put the fees to bed.
We absolutely have to
Fees
get
have
the
to be
fees.
all done by
up to
April
date.
first.
We gotta get them,
Absolutely.
I'd say we get them done by next week.
That's what I'm saying, by April first.
Yeah, absolutely,
I mean,
absolutely, because things are gonna start moving as soon as we start removing I&I and.
And then again, when the I&I was removed, this is just for general discussion, because we can't meet to talk about this stuff, but we're gonna have to come up with an amount we can remove. And what I want people to realize, this is not opening the floodgates. Part of, the whole thing is management. You're gonna manage what you have.
That's the next piece.
Now, but I think the one thing
How we
we've
do
got to adhere to is that if this flow is above 2.5 million, nothing can get approved. Because we're over permit, so we can't keep adding more. And if we remove it, we gotta still consider, our goal should be to never be, the facility's goal should always be never to be above 2 million gallons a day, even in rainy weather.
Right.
There's your 10% capacity, there's your slough, well, actually 2.25. But you want a comfortable range. This facility, if it was operating correctly, in a heavy rain, should never be over 2.2 million gallons a day, which is never gonna happen.
Right.
Because as you replace I&I up here, it's gonna wear here, so you're gonna be it's just a big circle.
it's a big loop.
It's a big circle, you'll never stop it, you'll never
But
get it.
hopefully, right now, we're looking at an immense amount of I&I.
I'm looking at
Once
huge
we've got
chunk.
that corrected, the next I&I shouldn't be that large.
I'm predicting that
With
where
this
I wanna
control
set the
plan.
lines, I think we're gonna see it. I think we're gonna see it for one or maybe two more studies of high I&I, which would be
Wow.
good.
Yeah,
And I'm gonna tell you the next, where I'm gonna direct them to, is where we always seem to be a problem, is where it comes in from John Dunn Drive and John Burke Drive, into the pond. Well, that whole stretch of the street, of Plain Street and West Water is high. And someone's gonna have to absolutely convince me that the construction of the new school hasn't disrupted that ground flow in the I&I. So again, if I can pinpoint that, that's something that's going back in the contract, but I'm gonna put meters on Park Street, Park Street. Coming from the school, I wanna go right from Spruce down John Dunn Burke with some meters, and then around other high areas known around town.
Your area is a high area, isn't it?
You know, because they just did yours, I think there's a couple
I mean,
other
our
areas.
area, not my area.
Oh, no, mine is, Wyman Fields is notorious, we've got it, that, not because I live there, but again, that's another area that they're never gonna recover it all, because it's right on French's Stream.
Oh.
But I know that's part of the I&I work, is that area, that's one of the heavy hitters, those areas. But there's a lot that can be done, but you've got to manage that flow. I mean, we're gonna have to come up with a number, and when we say, okay, we're gonna release, like, say, 50,000 gallons, that means we gotta remove 550,000 before we let another one in. That's
that's a lot.
3 years of work before we
Yeah.
can lie another one. And so what you gotta do is say, okay, let's get, this metering study will show us where I&I is. That's gonna identify the locations. Then we can take that money we generate from a development and say, okay, go after this area, capture that. We got the money to pay for it, so let's go right after it.
Right.
So as we're removing it, rather than let it build up, we're fixing it, letting the next guy in and fixing it.
I'm surprised you haven't had more problems on French Road.
Oh, yeah. But we gotta come up with a set amount of, numbers
What happened down
to
here?
say what we can, I'd say a realistic number on the way we are now. If we can get that 119,000 gallons out, that's, to me, a good number. But that 119,000 gallons is almost gonna get us to the break-even point.
Right,
And I mean, we're not even close to the break-even point, but
right.
we could reduce, say, 10,000 gallons. And that'll take 2 people off the waiting list.
Mm-hmm.
If the thing that'll kill us if we get a big development,
Right.
that will just, and they're gonna have to wait till we remove the I to get to that point to accommodate there. Because we're gonna use their I to fix for the future. So I don't wanna be playing catch-up. That's the one thing you can't be doing.
You
So
may-
if we have a development, say that's
So-
gotta come in at 20,000 gallons additional, we have to have that 20,000 gallons available before we let them in.
You might have to put flow tanks out there.
Yeah, so that's what we're gonna have to do. We're gonna have to make sure that we have the capacity to give them
Has to
before
be
they let them in. If
Right.
not, we're gonna continue to be chasing that tail right down the line.
You know, by flow tanks. So, let's say it's an area, okay?
Yeah?
Then that area goes, everything to that area goes into a tank.
Oh, okay, and then
as
it's,
this
Yeah, but we
comes
don't wanna,
down-
we don't wanna be creating expense. We gotta manage what we have.
Yeah, this is,
yeah,
I mean, that's what they had to do in certain countries.
Yeah, you know, we're gonna have, by rights, that's the way it should be done now, but we can't go back and reinvent the wheel. You gotta play the hand, you know, the cards you were dealt. So this is what we dealt. I think we've come up with a sound way to go after I. It's not gonna be pretty for the big developers. You wanna come in town, it is what it is.
mhm.
So here's what I'd like to do. Next week, we vote on the permit application and the user fee. Done, out of the way. I'd like to have an additional discussion on municipal
Okay, yeah.
discussions. And then I think we should get into, where do we stand with the ordinance? Do we need to have Bob Galvin in at a physical meeting to put that to bed?
So I did speak with Bob Galvin yesterday, and he's working on the best approach to it. Because the ordinance was never inserted into our bylaws, that's where he's kind of stumbling on how to handle it.
So why do we need a
So-
vote if it's never was incorporated into our bylaws? Why do we have to have
Well-
a meeting vote?
Because it was set up with the town. Because we voted in 2011
Okay,
to create it. So it is legal. We discussed either coming up with kind of a skeleton general bylaw and then use the whole ordinance document for our rules and regulations.
okay,
But he
here's
feels that
what
part of that, he went and did some research on other towns and they have the same lengthy
yeah, you know why?
in
They
their
copied it,
laws.
but what we have for the sewer ordinance, we didn't create that.
Yeah,
That is verbatim from the EPA and Mass DEP. That is
Okay.
verbatim.
all right.
And we just stuck in a couple sentences here and there. No one wrote that.
Mhm.
That is what the state requires to connect to sewer fees, and where we change it is to our own things. We can
Yeah.
change like the new users,
Right.
that.
So that's what he's looking to do. He's looking to see if there are parts of that ordinance that we can pull out that are the parts that, as a board, we may need to address at different times of the year. For example, call it like a hybrid idea. Section 16 says you cannot put this stuff in the sewer, and then it very details, 0.1
Yeah.
of the different chemicals and so forth, and he says you can take that out and just say, refer to the rules and regulations.
Well, we could
So
also
that's what he's
say,
trying to do
in looking at the current ordinance where it says new users, those are generic for statewide. Well, actually national-wide of what you gotta do to connect. We could leave that and just say for new users, also refer to the rules and regulations for the town of Rockland's requirements. He
What
doesn't
I-
have to create,
what
I don't
I-
wanna pay a lawyer to rewrite the Bible.
Right. What I suspect is that we're gonna have to go through the ordinance and pick out what needs to be in the bylaw and what we can move to rules and regulations, one of the pieces that we want to change.
I'll do that tonight, I don't wanna pay a lawyer to do that.
He's looking at it and trying to figure out the best approach to it, and he's gonna get back to me on it.
Yeah, but, you know, I would like it ready, because there's a couple things
Well, I know, and I told him my concern is that we're, you know, coming up on a time crunch to get this into the warrant, and his response was, where there's a will, there's a way, and we'll get it done. You had given me a number of
changes that I'd like to see, but.
changes on definitions and so forth.
Right, I wanted to
And
clear
we
up.
haven't even
because-
addressed those. We
No.
haven't even got that far.
Well, I
So-
want them in the new one. I want to define what is an existing and abandoned.
Mhm.
Because to me, if you have, here's what I didn't like, you say, oh, we got an existing stub. Okay, if you're going from a single family to a single family, okay, that's an existing stub. But if that site's been abandoned for 10 years, guess what? That's a new connection,
Yes.
as far as I'm concerned.
I see
Or if
that.
you're going from a residential to a commercial use, that's a new connection. I don't care if you get a new stub.
Yeah, yeah, that's
Or if you're going from municipal, if you're going from a municipal to a new change of use, that's a new connection.
So is your concern that those are not spelled out in the
They're not
ordinance?
spelled out, no.
Okay.
I want to make it absolutely, no offense, I don't want to say idiot-proof, but I want to dumb it down so even I can
Well, it
understand
needs
it.
to be very clear and specific. So if you were to look at the ordinance, you could pick out the pieces that
I
are
can pick 'em out,
absolutely
yeah.
governed by law,
Yeah,
that need to be
I
part
can
of the
look at it,
bylaws.
tell you what is, I can mark up the existing ordinance, I'll do it tonight.
Yeah,
I'll have it to you by Friday.
okay, I will let him know that.
Yeah, tell him I'll go through it, and I'll say what I think should be out of the ordinance. We'll maintain in a bylaw ordinance,
Mhm.
and what should be in an individual
And then
Rockland rules and
everything
regulations,
else.
sewer department rules and regulations.
I think that's the best way to do this. So that we keep state and EPA mandated in the bylaws.
Yep.
But the other things, for example, are definitions.
Right, we could create.
We could
What should be
create.
maintained in the bylaws is the construction standard, engineering standards.
Right,
So that's universal.
that's never gonna change.
I mean, if we want to
You know,
include
permits,
things like the
permits being
grinder.
good for 2 years,
Right, like if
that's
we're-
something we want the power to change.
Right, well, that's also in there.
So, right, but that would move to our rules and regs,
Right.
not a bylaw. so
No, they
we
can say in the
change
bylaw,
it
but
as
we will
needed.
also say, however, Rockland requires, and it's gonna be 2 years, and we're gonna have, that's one other thing in front of, we're gonna have to, well, they are on there, we're gonna, the dates are on the permit, but it doesn't say an expiration date. It refers to the clearing the ordinance is 2 years. So it's
Right,
2
but
years.
that physical permit, that's just a piece of paper form
Right.
that we make up, so we
Right, but
can add an
it's right in the
expiration.
ordinance that it's 2
We'll
years.
just add an expiration. All right, if you mark up the ordinance,
I'll mark it up tonight, give me something to
I
do.
think that's very good. Some of these people out there for a year,
There's
Oh,
3,
how many years?
4. Well, no, one is 10
No,
years.
there's one,
One
10.
Is 10 years.
And that's the one that kills me. For what needs- So you'll mark up the ordinance for what needs to be part of a bylaw.
Bylaw.
10 years.
And then the rest can go into rules and regs.
They get locked up to the old style, right?
Okay.
I don't wanna pay an attorney to do this.
That's, well,
I like law, but.
I think he's just trying to figure out how to
Yeah,
do that, and I think we just figured
Well, I
it
don't,
out.
see, if you get an attorney in, they're gonna fill it up with legal mumbo jumbo and nonsense bullshit.
I will- I
They can
will-
argue whether black is the opposite of white.
They can, yeah, I'll tell them that's what we're gonna do.
It's raining now, I guess it's.
Other than that, I think we've
Good.
covered about everything, but,
Okay,
so
I have
next.
one more item,
Oh,
please.
shoot,
Minutes. We need to get our minutes approved and posted. So, for you guys, these are the minutes of February 2nd, the 8th, the 15th, and the 21st of February.
okay,
And I give you a hard copy, and if we could vote on those next week.
I will do that.
I'll vote on it right now, I trust you.
There was one other thing I
Vote
wanted to
next
do.
week on that.
Okay, so let's set the agenda for next week.
Yep. Let's
Vote on fees.
vote on fees, vote
Thursday,
on minutes.
Thursday can't make it. Right.
Wait a minute, what's that, minutes? Minutes, vote on fees. Hopefully Robin will be here. Give her the admin. We want to discuss the website and
Clerk.
assistant clerk. That should cover next week.
That'll fill it up, plus whatever is
Okay,
going on.
pending, we have superintendent, we have the Abington Rockland,
Yeah.
and that's it. The fees will be the big one, that'll help us get rolling.
The fees are, yeah, asset, put for pending asset management grant.
I will talk to Frank some more about that, but he said they could do that. He said would cover our requirement for in-like services very easily with that, and they're providing that, and they'll just document it. In-kind services.
For the GIS system, we're going to have an overlay that's gonna show when we fix a manhole or.
Right, for example, well, this is not the way it is, but layer one would be,
Yeah,
for example, show the existing sewer system.
so the question is who is maintaining that, and I know we've touched on it, but
Environmental partners will be creating those overlays, we'll feed them. Part of
and
that,
then we would train somebody
part of the I&I work is to create GIS mapping.
mapping. But that doesn't, that's just collecting the data that someone else has to put
But
on.
no, that's the actual GIS mapping that they will give, there won't be another fee, they'll just add it to our GIS
They'll
map.
do it, okay.
That's part of
Alright,
it.
so I'm really getting into the weeds on who's,
Right, this is
Pushing
that's
the
part
buttons.
of it, so take for example, that's our sewer system. They'll layer on top of that, this is what we've repaired so far with this study. If we want a separate map
with
for the
all the
next study,
associated data and
right,
pictures.
it'll
and-
have when, how the flows were removed, everything. So whoever follows us will have a history of what we've done as we go down the road.
Okay. Alright, to be continued. I know it's not on our agenda, but
That'll take a motion in today's meeting.
I make the motion, the end of the meeting?
Do I have a second?
second,
All in favor, Mr. Ross?
Yes.
Ms. Valley?
yes.
And Ms. Hutchinson, resounding yes. Thank you very much.